Faith, politics, and sports. Three things people say not to mix. So here we are. Welcome to GPS, God, Politics, and Sports. I'm Bill Smith, bringing you real conversations on faith, political activity, sports, and the issues connecting them all. Hey everybody, this is Bill Smith. I'm excited to be with you today. Bill Smith with GPS, God, Politics, and Sports. And whoo, folks, it's hot in El Paso. I mean, it's hot. It is 102 out today. Actually, 104 is going to be the high. It's close to it. 107 tomorrow, 104 or 5 the next day, 103 on Friday, 103 on Saturday. And it's just hot. But you know what? God is good. His mercy endures forever. And that's why they make air conditioning. The great technology of it. I'm wearing my TCVA Tri-County Volleyball Club. My granddaughter is playing in nationals this week. So they're in Indianapolis to compete. One of the last times I talked to you, we were in Utah, and they went up to Utah and they competed and they qualified for nationals. First time they ever qualified for it. So they're on their way to my wife and my other granddaughter and my daughters. They're headed to Indianapolis, and they're going to have a great time. And I know those girls are going to get out there and they're going to compete, and they're going to do some great things. They're going to honor themselves and the great state of Texas. Yeah. Hook 'em horn. I'm TCU. I'm with the TCU with the Horned Frogs, because that's where my babies go, to TCU. So my boys go to TCU, committing to TCU, etc. So I know that GPS stands for God, Politics, and Sports. And I want to give you some insight on today's episode. Folks, beginning to end, we're talking about leadership. We'll dabble into a couple other areas, but we're going to get right into leadership, because I think leadership is important. So we're going to dive into talking about not only about leadership, but also the big NBA trade that went on, the NBA draft, and of course the World Cup. I do want to congratulate Oklahoma on winning the Men's College World Series championship. Great job. They took 2 out of 3 away from North Carolina. So congratulations to them Sooners, Boomer Sooners, for pulling up and winning that baseball championship, because they don't do nothing in football. I'm just playing, Boomer Sooners. Don't get mad at me. Don't get mad. I know y'all battling back all the time in football. So I want you to sit back as you're watching, or if you're listening on one of our streaming sites, you're driving, you're at home, you're on your computer, whatever it might be. Put on your thinking caps, and I want you to send your thoughts and comments on YouTube. You can comment below. Also on the streaming sites, if you after you listen to it, if you want to go on and you'll make a comment, you can comment on it. I think it's important, because know that as the viewers and listeners, you are the most important part of God, Politics, and Sports. It's not me, it's you. And your input is vital, and your input is important. So I want to hear back from you. Especially if you're in the desert, you're sitting at home, you're inside. If you're not watching and you're inside, you're listening, letting that air flow, you're listening. So I am so excited about doing this and talking about leaders and leadership. And one of the things, part of being a leader is someone who wants to get out and do their own thing. And this segment of GPS, God, Politics, and Sports is brought to you by our sponsor, Q Craft Sausage. You can text 706-409-3532 or qcraftsausage.com/Marquez Carr at qcraft-sausage.com. I'm going to do that all over again, because I got all tongue-tied. So it's qcraftsausage.com/Marquez, that's MARQUAZE, Carr, CARR, at qscraft-sausage.com. That was a whole lot better than it was the first time around. So we're in the leadership, and I'm so much into leadership because I see it on a daily basis, not just in my profession in law enforcement, but I also see it in our daily lives. You see it on TV. You see it in with your kids. You see it as small as the little ones. Who's the leader of the bunch? Who's the one that's stepping up? And one of the books I've been reading by Simon Sinek is called Leaders Eat Last. And this is one of the books that our bishop had said he really encourages us to read. And one of the things I love so much about this, and I've only read the first few chapters. There's a lot of chapters in this book. There's a whole lot of chapters in this book. There are a lot of big chapters. So there's parts in it, but there's 27 chapters in here. And it talks about protection from above, employees, which is this guy was prior military. So he's talking about that helicopter protection from above, but also the protection that you get from God and being in the body of Christ and being a child of God. So that's so important. But it does talk about linking up and how your employees are people too. Those that are around you, your teammates, for those athletes, your teammates that are in the business with you, how they're important as well, and how treating one another is very important. So, and how to develop your subordinates. And I'm only 4 chapters in, four chapters in the 27 chapter book, but I've learned so much just within those 4 chapters. And even with having to change how you go about doing your daily business, your awesome responsibilities as a leader, that's important. We see what we want to see. So there's so many things in this when it comes to being a leader and leadership. But I also love reading the Word of God and seeing God develop and grew leaders. Because one very important thing is leaders aren't born. Remember that. Nobody's a born leader. You may have certain qualities within you that you were born with, but that doesn't make you a leader until they're developed and until you're put in situations where you have to lead. And it's a very important in every area, in every aspect of life, is leadership. And I can share my own experiences from being a kid up through high school into the military. And every time I would find myself placed in leadership positions. Was I successful at all of them? No, I wasn't. But that's the only way you become a good leader. It's not that everything you do is going to be perfect, because you have to learn. And even sometimes a loss, you can learn even more than if you won. It's fun winning. I love winning. But I've also learned that I don't embrace losing, but what can I pull out of it to make me a better leader? When I'm sharing and impacting the lives of others, or when I look to see and I'm around great leadership, and you hear testimonies of where they've been, that doesn't make them who they are now, but where they've been. And you say, man, you come from this to here, I know I can do it as well. So I love reading the Word. Oh, I love reading the Word when it comes to leaders and leaders and leaders and more leaders. And I thought, man, you can go through all 66 books. Somebody's a leader in there somewhere. From Genesis through Revelations, there's leadership that's going on. And there's so many great leaders that begin to stand out within us in the Bible. And God lays out how to be and live as a leader. God does not leave us without direction. And many times people fail to realize that God has already given us so many great directions on how to be a leader. And I firmly believe that in order to be a good leader, you must be willing to follow as well. You must be willing to be mentored. And when I talk about my book, The Power of Being Mentored, this is one of the things that's so important, the power of being mentored. And you can get this on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. Just go in there, type in The Power of Being Mentored. Put in my name, William F. Smith Jr. This will pop up to you. This book, and the reason why I love this book so much is not just because I wrote it, because this is something that's written from the heart. This book was written from the heart that says, hey, in order for me to get to where I want to get to, I need a mentor. And you see that throughout Scripture. Some of your greatest leaders, you got Moses had Jethro, his father-in-law, who said to him, you're going to kill yourself trying to run all these people. Get 70 men. Get 70 men to step up, and then they'll bring it to you. They'll be the they'll be that in between you and the people, and they'll bring it to you. And within that, what comes back to them, they know it's coming from Moses, and the very essence of Moses will be upon them as well. Joshua, of course, he had Moses as his mentor. Joshua follow Moses. You look at that. You can see it in your word. Right after Deuteronomy, you go right into Joshua. After Moses died, Joshua took up the mantle. Joshua became that leader. Joshua led them into the promised land. Joshua tore down Jericho by marching around 7 times and then giving a shout of praise. Joshua had to make some very tough decisions. Not every decision Joshua, just like every decision Moses made, wasn't right. That's what kept him out of the promised land. Not every decision that Isaac made, Joseph made, no one made all the perfect decisions. Not every decision that Joshua made was correct. Joshua got bamboozled at one point, and God pointed it out to him. But it's all part of leadership. Oh man, you got, even with Elisha, you had Elijah. And he said, what do you want from me? He said, I want that double portion. The double portion. He didn't ask for tons of stuff. He just asked for a double portion of the anointing that was upon Elijah. And then he went on to do great things. He went on as a prophet to do great things. But he had that mentor, someone he had to follow first. David. Now I look at David because I love David, but you can go through the book of Judges and you can see all the great judges. And there was someone who had to speak into their life, or God directly spoke to them, or there was something that was, even with Gideon, he could look at his situation, but then he had to listen to who God said he is, mighty man of valor. God called him that. And once he accepted what God had called him, you could see the changes that were made within him. I think that Samson was awesome. Samson didn't pay attention to much. He really didn't. But then he knew when God was, he knew he had to go back to God even after he made a mistake. And he still was a leader, even going into death. Because we still talk about, not just because of the word, we talk about because of those things that he did. And we can see that when you're faithful to all that God is saying to do, even if you fall, God will restore you. We see that within Samson. And then, oh man, David, once again, he had Samuel starting off, and then it was Nathan, and he had mentors and people that they followed. And David even had Saul. As crazy as Saul became, David saw all those things not to be. He saw all those things not to be. But he also saw what a great king can become if you don't adhere to the things of God. And Saul didn't start off, he got away from Samuel and he started listening to the people instead of following his mentor. One thing is, I love when Dr. Brown, who once again we had on our show, and it really expanded this GPS into being global. And when he says your mentor, your leader, your following should be able to know you and know you. And there are times that people don't like to be told no. And we always say, well, God says yay and amen. Yeah, he does. That's his promises. But it doesn't mean he won't tell you no at different time periods, because there may be doors you may want to go through, and God's saying that's not the one for you at this time period. And we get so upset. God, I thought you wouldn't tell me no. God, I thought this. And God's saying, look, I got plans for you. You're a leader. You're a leader. And leaders have to be able to follow at times. Leaders have to be able to follow. We always press upon, especially with our kids, be a leader, which is fine, which is great. Especially I see it all the time in youth sports. We're always pressing kids to be a leader. But in that pressing for them to be a leader, they need to be able to follow the instructions of their coaches. If someone is a captain over them, they need to be able to follow that captain, as long as the captain is being a good leader. No one's telling you to follow bad leadership, but I'm telling you, be a leader. Be a leader. That's what's so exciting about God, politics, and sports today, being a leader. And it's not just with men. Check out Ruth to Naomi. She said, Ruth replied, don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. And where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. That's Ruth 1:16. And Ruth went on to do great things as you go through the whole book of Ruth, and how she was blessed. how she was blessed. And within that, it all started with her being mentored by Naomi. And she found her husband found her. And look what great things happened. And she became a leader. Because I'm sure, and it may not say it in there, but other women around her became, because her sister-in-laws jetted. There's no more reports of them. But you see with Ruth in there. So if you're saying, well, where are the scriptures at? Where are the scriptures that talk about leadership in the Bible? And I'm going to tell you a few. First, Matthew 20, 26 to 28. Whoever wants to become great among you must first be your servant. So a leader is also a servant. Learn to serve those that are with you. Serving them is sharing with them. It doesn't mean you're walking around all the time. But remember, Jesus even washed the feet of his disciples. That's the ultimate leader right there. That's the ultimate in humility. Proverbs 11:14 said, where there is no guidance, a people fails, or falls. But in an abundance of counselors, there is safety. Where there is no guidance, people fall. They fail. But in an abundance of counselors, there is safety. That means you're seeking leadership. And as a leader, step up and be a leader and share with your people. Once again, I love looking at the word in all the leaders, because even as you get into the New Testament, of course, the ultimate leader is Jesus. But even then, Paul steps up. Peter steps up. I mean, they just begin to pour. Timothy steps up. The word, they just begin to pour out as leaders, but they were mentored first. Paul was not released until hands were laid upon him. And it's all part of leadership. And then you speak up boldly. As a leader, you begin to go forward and you begin to speak boldly. 1 Peter 5, the second and third, shepherd the flock of God that is among you, exercising oversight, not under compulsion, but willingly. Being a leader. Joshua 1:9 says, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God be with you wherever you go. And leaders understand something. Challenges are going to come. It's not for you to be afraid. It's for you to stand up and be bold. Because those that are around you, they want to see how you stand. And one of the things I've learned so much in this word is when the Bible tells us, let me see this, Titus, which this book talks about pastoring. But one of the things is being slow to speak and quick to listen. And for also in Titus 1:7-8, for an overseer as God's steward must be above reproach. He must not be arrogant or quick-tempered. And that's one thing I've had to learn over the years, because I still have to say, hey man, cool out a little bit. I can go from 0 to 60 in a heartbeat. Boop, there, boop, see ya. But as a leader, it's one of those things that, man, this is the word is saying. Slow down and listen a little bit. It's not always the easiest thing to do. But we talk about being a leader, and you want to see where Peter, as a leader, what did Peter, when they came for Jesus, Peter whipped out his sword, cut off his ear, and Jesus rebuked him for it. And basically, hey man, you acted in your flesh. But then Peter sees that even after he denied Christ, he realized, and when he cried out, he didn't do like Judas. He cried out and he repented. That's leadership. That's leadership right then and there. And we see it so often, and we expect it from our spiritual leaders, but also our political leaders. And wow, politics is one area that breeds many different viewpoints on who is a good leader and what a leader should be. And what I might think is a good leader, somebody else may not. So personal opinions and political beliefs often cloud our judgment in good and bad leadership. But the best part is we don't have to agree. And what I mean by personal opinions and political beliefs, someone could be a lousy leader, but because they're Democrat, or because they're Republican, or because they're independent, or because they're a socialist, whatever it might be, they're a great leader. But then when you start to look at all that they do and what they say, they're not great leaders. And I'm a very conservative, and yes, I do vote more Republican, but I know there's some Republican leaders that are not good leaders. I wouldn't call them good leaders, and I'm not getting into names for each one, because I see things in their leadership qualities that I wouldn't embrace. There are some people that are Democrat, and I don't vote Democrat, but there's some of them that I think are, man, that's a pretty good leader. That's a pretty good person, but some of their policies I don't like. I am not pro-abortion, so I cannot vote for anybody that would be pro-abortion, because I believe in the sanctity of life. I believe in the sanctity of marriage between a man and a woman. So I don't vote in that direction for anybody who says 2 men and 2 women. Now, I'm not judging anybody before anybody runs out and says, oh, you're just trying to judge. I'm not doing that, because I'm not God. I just stand on what his word says. I'm not apologizing for it. Okay, I'm not. But you have some great leaders out there on both sides of the aisle, wherever it might be. Some people that are true leaders. And every leader will make a bad or questionable decision politically. No leader in politics has made every right decision. No president has made every right. None of them. You have many presidents who have made bad decisions, but they made a call. And the thing is, though, you have advisors as well. But the final thing stands on, like Harry S. Truman once said, the buck stops here. That, to me, made him one that stepped up to be a leader, because he was not trying to pass things off on everybody else. That's what part of being, to me, a great leader is. One who's going to accept responsibility and what they're doing. So some of my choices historically of good leaders, just within our country, it's, everyone's not going to agree with them. These are just some of my favorite leaders. And I'm not, I know my father, my bishop, my wife, those are great leaders. That's more personal. But I'm just going to expand out to people that you might have heard about nationally. And I'm sure you heard about all 3 of them nationally as well, because I talk about all 3 of them. But some other people historically wise and some are military leaders, because I think it's very important. And some of these cross both genres. Some are military leaders that got into the political realm. But because being former military, and you can see the different things that I have up, that's from the Gulf War and different things that I have, and I'm a veteran because I'm very much into things that in the military and anything that goes. So I've had people I thought were great. George Washington, terrific leader. Harriet Tubman, and I pulled her out because the Underground Railroad and what she did on that, and to lead people, and people had to trust her. And even in the Civil War, because people don't realize she got involved in the wars as well. Abraham Lincoln, speak for herself. Ulysses S. Grant, a great military mind, but he had to match minds with someone else I put down here, which is General Lee. And please I don't want to hear what this person has slaves and that. Black folks had slaves as well. Black folks sold black folks into slavery. It started in Africa. So look up the history. So let's not get into that horse that gets beat dead. It doesn't take away from the fact that he was a great military mind and leader. Someone like a Booker T. Washington, great in the black community and education-wise. I love General Colin Powell, not just for Desert Shield, Desert Storm. But if you look up his history all the way back into Vietnam, when they talk about him being such a great leader in Vietnam, and then even after, and I talked about this before, even after Desert Shield and Desert Storm, when he became the Secretary of State, and I was so disappointed with President Bush, the second one, and how they manipulated him. And that was one of the reasons why he stepped down, because he made this speech in front of the UN to get folks behind to go into Iraq the second time, only to come to find out that a lot of those things were false. And I firmly believe 100%, without a doubt in my mind, that if he would have ran for president when Clinton won his second tour, if he would have ran for president, he would have beat Bill Clinton. I firmly believe it. I think the Republican Party would have got behind him. I think Black America would have got behind him most. And I just think people in general would have got behind him because he was such a great leader. Norman Schwarzkopf, Ronald Reagan. My favorite president in my 58 years of living is Ronald Reagan. I spoke about that plenty of time. I think Bill Clinton was a good leader. Yes, he had his faults, but he was able to bring the country together in different ways, and he crossed party lines at different times. And there were things that he did, because some people don't realize he took some of the Republican policies, tweaked it around to what he wanted, and presented it back, and got some great things done in our country. I can't argue with that. The record speaks for itself. I believe that President Trump is a great leader. I believe that there are times period that his verbiage can get out of hand. Yes, but the one thing is he's not a politician. He's an entrepreneur. He's a businessman by trade, by heart. And so he wants the final and the bottom line. So he doesn't always play politics. I think that's tremendous in a leader, where you have your set standards and you stick to your standards. Now, there's some things that he does need to work on. And prayerfully he will. And he'll keep hearing people, those who advise him, especially those that are saying that they're born again believers, that advise him what God says, not what their flesh says. And that's very important. Now, there's one person I don't agree with politically in almost any way at all. But I thought Nancy Pelosi, yes, people don't slap me. But I thought when she was Speaker of the House, especially when she first started off, and I say she's a good leader because she rallied her constituents. She rallied those around her in the House. And many times she went to battle with that and they followed her. Do I agree with all of it? Heck no. Not even a little bit. But I cannot fault her leadership. Now, over time, it waned. And I think one of the things that's happening, and not just in the Democratic Party, but also in the Republican Party, is either too far left or too far right. You have socialists that are trying to take over and darn near have taken over the Democratic Party. And it's a disease, and I'm calling socialism a disease. It's a disease that wants to spread. And even in the Republican Party, we've gotten so far away from being moderate, so far to the right, and at times we need to pull it back in. It's not like the left, but we do need to pull it back in. So those are some of the leaders that I think are good. And there's many, many, many more terrific leaders out there. I think Byron Donaldson is going to be an awesome, awesome governor of Florida once he accomplishes that and he wins that, once he goes through that election process. I believe our vice president, once he runs in 2028, is going to make a very good president. There's no doubt in my mind with that. So you have some tremendous leaders in our nation, in politics, in the military. And I don't know all the generals now, so I'm not going to act like I know everybody. I can go back to Eisenhower, who went from being a great general to a president. I can go, we can go all the way back to MacArthur, who probably one of his biggest problems was his ego, and it cost him, but he still did great things in the Pacific. Of course, Patton, he has a great movie. I watch it every time. George C. Scott was a killer in that movie. But his mindset and the things that he did, and it was all about winning and victorious. And I love what he said about winning a war battle is not about dying for your country. It's making that, and he used expletives, so I'm not going to use that, but making that fool die for his country. That's how you win. And I love that. So I love so many great leaders. And you can look, and I want to see your comments of who you think are great leaders. If you want to attack my list, I don't have any problem with it, because I'm not going to debate you on it. You're going to have, I said Trump, some of y'all are going to go crazy. Why would you say that? That's what I think. Some of you may not think he is. Some of you may have people that you may think is, some of you may say President Obama is a great leader to you. There are time periods I thought he was. When we went after bin Laden, my man was cool when he did that. But there's other things he came about with that I don't think was a great leader, and it created some of the identity politics that we have now. But the memorandum of understanding with Iran was signed, and very intense negotiations are going on in Switzerland. There's a lot of false media reporting and snapshot social media reporting is muddying up how people see the negotiations. I hope these negotiations come through quickly, swiftly, and don't waste too much time with it. And some people, and I know that Iran rolled through, and they wanted to establish their position in it, who they brought to the table with them. Smart move, but they're not really in that position. And the one thing I say this again, a kingdom divided will surely fall. That's what the word says. And as long as we keep attacking our own leadership on every little point on this, because remember one thing, Iran doesn't have that coming back towards them. You attack your freedom by attacking those that have authority instead of praying for those that have authority over you. And I'm not saying don't present a different viewpoint. What I'm saying is we're in negotiations with a country that we know for decades. I mean, look at Hezbollah. They fund these people, and we want to attack those as we want to get ourselves back in right standing. And I've said to people, I was not thrilled with even going over there and starting stuff or getting things going, but it is what it is now. So let's get out of here with the most possible. So we want to make sure that we're not tearing things down as we move forward in this thing. The Strait of Hormuz, it's open, it's closed, it's open. Everybody wants to say something different. I see gas prices coming down, which means food prices will come down, which means a lot of things will begin to come down. And instead of Schumer and Jeffries and those attacking it, even those on the Republican side that are attacking these things, let this thing come to pass. Let it work its way through. And I really believe and trust that God's going to do some great things in our country. And why do I believe that? Because this is God, Politics, and Sports. And this segment of God, Politics, and Sports is brought to you by Spartans Youth Football. And within this thing, we have some awesome young men in our youth sports program, some awesome young ladies in our flag football program, some terrific cheerleaders who these young ladies have been going different parts of the country, winning competitions. So Spartans Youth Football, we are growing exponentially, and we look forward to doing so many great things. We have young men that are headed to the NFL, already working out in the NFL, playing in college, and I can go down the plethora of things that God has blessed us with how young men and young women have moved forward into doing great things in our society. And speaking of our society, it's World Cup, baby. USA, USA, USA. USA won back-to-back games for the first time since 1930. It's on to the knockout round. Who cares about Turkey on Friday, Thursday, Friday, one of the days? I know they're going to play to win. The U.S. wants to play to win, but they're going to be smart about it. There's some players that will not be on the pitch, on the field, because they have, I think it's 3 of them, 4 of them that are looking at already have yellow cards. So you don't want them to pick up another one and have to be out for the first game, get suspended for the first game of the knockout round. We need all cleats on board. Everybody needs to be on board. Let's lock and load, baby, lock and load. So Chris Pulisic, he'll be back. I probably messed up his name. My apology. He got kicked in the calf. So I see many workout that really work him out, rehabbing working at that contusion or bruise in his calf. You have to be careful of that, because if that other athletes have issues with their calves before and end up pulling their Achilles. So they want to make sure they're careful with that and bringing him back. So he'll probably get limited time versus Turkey. And then they'll get ready to rock and roll. So no matter what happens against Turkey, it's not going to affect their seeding or placing in a knockout round in the final 32. I've seen a lot of people say, hey, this team goes to the Elite Eight, if not the Final Four. And one person even said they think the U.S. could even win this thing. Now, I'm not going to say that. Even though England got tied by Ghana 0-0, Portugal looks tough. Argentina looks deadly. some of these teams are looking, Japan's been looking good. So a lot of these teams have really been looking good, but I believe the U.S. is right in the mix with all of them, so I'm excited about it. So let's get another miracle, like we had Miracle on Ice in 1980. Let's go 2026, and let's bring this home. So keep rooting on the USA. I'm also excited about this, where you may have liberals in our country trying to tear it down. You have people coming from across the land, across the planet, into this country for this time period, and they're raving about the hospitality. They're raving about the food. They're raving about how awesome this country is. They're not trying to leave it. They're just enjoying it. And like me, I enjoy and I love our country. And I'm glad this sporting event is showing the world it's not what CNN and MSNBC and the rest of them want to present out to you. And even Fox at different times, or Newsmax. This is the greatest country on the planet. And I hope they believe their country is the greatest country on the planet. That's what they should believe. I believe that El Paso is the best city in the... Okay, it's one of the best ones. This is my house. This is my home. This is where I live. So I love this 104-degree heat out here smoking a brother up. Can't go outside. I'm already dark as want to be. Giannis Antetokounmpo, you know who his name is. Antetokounmpo. Yes. I just call him Giannis. But he's traded to Miami for 4 players and draft picks from this year, 10 and 13. I think they already had the 10th, so now they got the 13th pick. Does it make Miami an instant contender? I'm going to tell you no. Does it help boost their chance? Yes. It does not make them a automatic contender because there's a lot of holes they have to fill. And the players that they lost. But they do have Bam. And they have Giannis. And they're going to build around that. I'm sure that Pat Riley's going to make a lot of moves. And look at Pat Riley's history. He went out and got Shaq, came back with a ring. He went out and got, at one time he got LeBron, Chris Bosh, teamed him up with Wade. Shaq teamed up with Wade. The common denominator seems to be Dwayne Wade, not the other ones. We ever think about that? But I remember when Shaq, when LeBron got to him 3, maybe 4. No, that's how many losses you got in the NBA championships. You only won 2 over there. Okay? That's why you're not the GOAT. I'm not going to start that argument right now, but we know who the GOAT is. 2, 3. MJ. That's the GOAT in basketball. But everybody got their errors as well. But Pat Riley's going to go out and make some moves. He has a terrific coach in Eric Spoelstra. So I really believe that the Heat will make some noise. Now, are they going to have what it takes to beat the Knicks? The Knicks are a complete team, inside, outside. The Knicks have the leadership in Jalen Brunson. They have that leadership in Cat, Anthony Towns. They have that leadership. The Celtics have an issue because they were shopping Jaylen Brown. Do they need to trade him? And I'm going to say yes, because he wants to be the guy. And with Tatum on the court, he can't be the guy. He has a ring with you, multiple Eastern Conference championships. Remember, they blew a 3-1 lead to the Sixers, who were broke up. The Sixers were jacked. Jalen Brunson and the Knicks are still going to be the team to beat in the East. And you can't forget Detroit stumbled. Now let's see if Cleveland can find a way to finagle to get LeBron back. That's going to give them a lot of firepower too. But I don't see if that's going to happen. But we'll see what happens with that as well. But the NBA draft is Tuesday, June 23rd, when this podcast is being done. And you're looking at, and pretty soon they should be, if they have not already done it, the first pick. But it's either going to be A.J. DeBonta from BYU or Darren Peterson from Kansas. A lot of people are saying go with Dupansa because Peterson had some issues when it came to basketball as far as being on the court. A lot of time missed, a lot of little injuries here or there. Some people are saying, no, go with the kid from BYU, the freshman from BYU. Someone's going to say go with Peterson. So there's a lot of out there, but I'm going to take Boozer. That's the kid I would look for. The kid from Duke. I think he's going to be a tremendous NBA basketball player. And I'm anxious to see what my Sixers do because we need to trade Joel Embiid. I'm just not I love Joel, but he's injured too much. He's on the ground too much. He doesn't establish his authority, his size. I don't want him outside shooting 3-pointers. I want you on the block, and I want you dominating. So let's see what the Sixers do with that. But once again, it comes back to being leaders. What leaders? Who's going to step up and be a leader? I think Tyrone Maxey can be a great leader. I believe that Jalen Brunson's already a leader. Who's going to lead in the Western Conference? Wemby showed that he has the potential to be a leader, but he's not a finisher as a leader. You see that. OKC has leaders. They're MVP. They're MVP. And he's a good leader. So you have so many, you have so much going on when it comes to leadership and what you consider a leader, and especially in the sports world. And I believe that the sports world will give you an example of leadership almost better than any other thing outside of maybe the military and of course ministry. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for OKC, I thought he thought he represented himself and his team very well as a leader. But I look back over history, you see the Vince Lombardis, the Bill Walshes, man, high school coaches, whether it was Jack Welch, my high school coach, or Mr. Loring, or Mr. Haddon, just all these different leaders that just began to step up. Mrs. Schilling, she was one of our coaches. I believe it was field hockey, lacrosse. One of them she coached. One of my classmates, and I remember it's Deanna Burley. I don't remember her married name, but she won multiple state and national championships as a high school coach. So all these different leaders that begin to step up, youth coaches from around my lifetime, Mr. Thompson, of course, my dad, Mr. Mosley, Mr. Griffith. But then you have even now today guys that I coach against that are tremendous young youth football coaches and leaders, guys that I coach with that are under me, under my tutelage, that are becoming tremendous leaders, that I appreciate them, and I see how families appreciate them too, as they're stepping up to become leaders. And every youth football coach, wrestling coach, baseball coach, swim coach, tennis, whatever you're doing, you should want to step up and be a leader. One of the things that we say is we're building tomorrow's leaders today. We can't do that without exhibiting leadership ourselves. Folks, it's not about the trophies you can win. I have plenty of trophies. Those trophies will collect dust. The names will fade, and they will go on. They're going to pass away. But the things that you impart into these kids can last a lifetime, because I remember the things that were shared with me back in Fleetwood football, back in 1976, with Green Tree Wrestling that started in 1975, with baseball, Fleetwood baseball, but the different teams that I played for. I think it was Thomas Electric Company, the different places or teams that I played for in baseball, all those things. Heck, even when I played floor hockey, was trying to play goalie, I learned from leaders that were standing like a John Havers, and he also coached me in football. Those guys, tremendous leaders, and made impact in my life. So even your youth football coaches, my uncle, tremendous coaches, leaders. And not just those coaches, but also the guys that I played with that were leaders. My cousin John, my cousin Nikki, even the ones younger than me, my cousin Mike and Sean. These guys stepped up. The Keith DeLucas. I'm naming names. None of y'all know who these people are. But these are guys that made impact in my life through that. So athletes that are, of course, you have the Jordans and the LeBrons. You have the Patrick Mahomes. You know, you had the Jim Plunkett's and the Marcus Allens. And I love my Raiders. Raiders had some tremendous leaders. They were crazy, but tremendous leaders. The Julius Irvings, leaders. The Moses Malones, the leaders. The Larry Birds. These guys, the Bill Russells. All these tremendous leaders over time. But the one thing they all of us had to do, was we had to learn to follow. We had to be mentored. And remember this: leaders seek responsibility and take responsibility for their actions. So I'm charging you to step up, be that leader, make that difference verbally, with your actions, and the examples that you set, not just for those that are in your immediate surroundings, but those that are even on the outside looking in. Be that leader. Be that leader that God has called you to be. Ha ha! Lead, baby. God, politics, and sports. We're leading the way. Coast to coast, border to border, around the world. I'm stepping up, and I want you all to be leaders. Be leaders. Be leaders. Seek responsibility and take responsibility for your actions. God bless you, and have a great, great week. Well, folks, that wraps up today's episode of GPS, God, Politics, and Sports. Thanks for listening. And as always, stay grounded and stay engaged. God, Politics, and Sports.